Hello guys, and welcome back to another episode of Talk with Sandra. Still on the topic widowhood, we are going to be continuing with that topic, and what we are going to be discussing today is what I have titled Challenges Widows Face. So if this is your first time meeting me, my name is Sandra. Welcome back to another episode of Talk with Sandra. Like I said before, the topic is Challenges Widows Face. If this is the kind of video you would love to watch, stay tuned and I'll be right back. But before I go into the video, I want to briefly share a third-party story of what happened and what I witnessed, and it has a lot to do with the topic we are about to talk about today. So meanwhile I have a glass of juice here just so I can be calming down myself, so that I will not say what I'm not supposed to say in this video, because it's like we are going to be shaking small tables in today's video. So so the story is about a woman I went to visit, a woman that her husband was sick. So I got to the hospital, I went to visit them, and when we were praying for the man, the woman, started praying too, and I overheard her say, instead of her husband to die, that it's better that she's the one that will die, that should die. So when she said that, that got me. After the prayers and everything, the husband got well, they left the hospital, came back home. So on my own, I called her, I invited her over on my own, and she came, we talked about it. And I asked her, why did you say that God should spare your husband's life and take you? Is it just love? Because that really got me, you guys, I will not lie. That got me. I was thinking about a lot of things, but I just needed to give her time to, attend to her husband and let her husband be strong before I can ask her the question. So she said it's not like that she too loves her husband, but that she's scared of widowhood. So that was when I began to ask her, have you ever experienced widowhood before? Are you a widow that remarried? Did you, see anybody? So she told me the story of her own blood sister that lost her husband and what she went through in her journey of widowhood. So that actually brought me to the topic we are discussing today, which I've mentioned before, challenges widows face, in their journey of widowhood. So I'll start by telling you guys that widows experience a lot of challenges, like during their journey of widowhood. As they move through their experience of widowhood, they encounter grief, loss, trauma, emotional trauma that accompanies widowhood is too much. And there are so many other things that widows experience that are so bad that are not even good for the ear to hear. I know that bad things happen everywhere in the country, everywhere, but this one is seeing a woman lose her husband. You know that her husband is no longer alive, and the next thing you will do is to plan on how to, subdue her, subject her to wickedness, especially if you have upper hand, in her life, maybe as a husband brother, or as a husband sister, or as a husband's uncle, her husband's uncle, or somebody up there. Okay, so that is what I want to talk about. I know this video is not going to be welcomed by a lot of people, and so many are going to embrace it, and so many that are in their downtime are also going to find inner peace watching this video. So that is why I insisted on talking about it. I was supposed to have a visitor discuss this with me, the said lady that I just shared her story, but something happened and she did not make it. But of course, someday she's going to appear on one of our episodes. So the number one thing I want to talk about that widows experience is social insecurity. Yeah, there is this saying, as this one or other manabani, but when they break, you must look for it, because that is when you will need to sweep. What am I trying to say? I'm not trying to say that the husband is the only achievement a woman have in this life, or getting married is the only achievement a woman can have. But what I'm trying to say is that a married woman with her husband by her side does not know what a widow is going through. That's just what I'm trying to compare the two. Okay, so that's what I mean by that adage. As is one other having said that, I want to inform us that number one thing that widows experience after the death of their husband is insecurity. They will begin to fear will enter them. That's the number one thing. The woman will be scared. Any little thing she will be scared, especially if the death of her husband is untimely, you know, prematurely, and it came as a shock. The first thing that will happen to her is fear. Any little thing, she'll be scared. She'll be afraid of what is going to happen next, is what she's going to be scared of. And she's also going to be scared of bullying, because people see it that when a man dies and the woman is just there, they see it that a road that anybody can pass. That is why when you see widows, they are always tough and strict. When you see a widow that knows what she's doing, she's always tough. You can't just trespass her territory anyhow, because she is insecure. She don't know why you are coming. She don't know where you're coming from. Some of the reasons why a widow is strict and mean is because of experiences. Okay, because immediately she loses her husband, the next thing she's going to encounter is bullying. She will encounter a lot of bullying from people that, you know, that are not even meant to talk to her in the first place. Some are family members, you know, husband's family, and the rest of them. Especially these things I'm saying are common, especially in this Africa. Yes, let me put it like that, because I know that in the Western world, women have equal rights. Okay, there's human rights where you don't just maltreat people anyhow. But here in the country, here in Africa, I don't think we have what we call human rights. Anybody can do anything and get away with it. So when you see a widow in that situation, just try and help her, support her, because she's being insecure. The only thing she can do is to be overprotective. When she's being overprotective, you think she's overdoing things. No, it's because of her insecurity. She's trying to protect her territory. Okay, as a mother hen, that's just what they are trying to do at that point, because insecurity comes with a lot of fear and other things. So that is the very first thing a woman encounters once her husband dies. You see her, you know, being scared of sleeping alone. You see her moving out of where they were living before. She's trying to run away from memories. It's also part of the insecurities. You know, maybe if her husband died in a hospital, she will not like to go to that hospital again. It gives her bad memories. She is insecure. That environment is not conducive enough for her. You see a lot of other things that will make her feel insecure about herself. The second thing is discrimination. You see people trying to avoid her. They see her as a bad person, especially when there is rumor that she's the one that killed her husband, or if the husband died untimely, or if they've been having one kind of misunderstanding before the husband died. A lot of people begin to discriminate. No, she's no longer part of us, especially from the husband's family. No, she's no longer part of us. She's now that stigmatization. She will be like, you know, they will begin to isolate her. They will begin to, you know, stay away from her as if she has leprosy on her body. I know what I'm saying. That's where I am coming from. So all these things are some of the challenges that widows also face when they lose their husband. Even in the community, you will see people, they will discriminate, and sometimes they keep them away from going to the marketplace for a certain time. Okay, like for 6 weeks, 1 month, 6 months, or thereabout, depending on the tradition of the community. They stop them from going to market, stop them from eating some kind of food depending on the tradition, stop them from coming out, stop them from wearing certain kind of clothes. That's why you see some widows wearing white, okay, some wearing black, some depending on the tradition of the community where her husband came from. So these are some of the challenges that widows face. So it is very, very important that when you see them going through these kind of things, you encourage them, support them, be there for them. It is not easy for a woman to lose her husband. In as much as I said in the last video that it's not a place of pity, but I mean, they need you. They need you to pull out of that situation. That's the most difficult phase of a woman's life. Losing a child, losing your husband, losing any loved one is the most difficult phase of anybody's life, not just in widowhood journey. So another thing that widows experience, I think I briefly talked about that is some wicked traditional practices. I think it's high time, you know, especially in Africa, especially in Nigeria, especially in Igbo land, they look into some of the archaic traditions that the put people through in the name of tradition. Like in the case of Stella, you guys saw when we went and they cooked, did some things for some people in the community. That was a lot of money that was paid. Yes, a lot of money was paid in that tradition you see us perform. A lot of money, and we had to go and plead that since it is we now doing it for her, can you people accept goat instead of ram? Can you people accept goat instead of cow? Can you people accept 1 bag of rice instead of 5? Can you people accept 1 bag of gari instead of 10? Okay, so imagine such a woman in that condition, and she cannot mingle with other women. The villagers cannot donate things to her because she is a widow and she has not done the tradition expected of her. So it's just like doing two burial, the burial of 2 people at a go. That was what we did that time. In that video where you saw her, you saw people cooking in her compound and the rest of them. So some of these archaic traditions needs to be abolished or needs to be reconsidered. At least they touch it a little to bring it down, so that women don't get to die in silence. You'll be battling losing your husband, and you'll still be battling traditions. Then some traditions like cutting your hair, we all know that cutting your hair is a sign of respect for your husband. Some people do that even when their mother die, or when their parents die, or when a very close loved one dies. Some people do that. But now, you know, we have many religions, we have many Christianity is taking over all the place, and sometimes some women will refuse to do that tradition, and it will cause a lot of problem. They will start accusing the woman, you're the one that killed your husband, or the next thing, you have to swear to an oath. And when these things are against her Christian belief, why not just, okay, who do it in such a way that, okay, if it's okay for them to do it, let them do it. If it's not okay, let them not do it, instead of forcefully putting it on the woman. And when she refuses to do that, trust me, she will have the entire widows in that lineage to contend with, because them too will see that they are being cheated. That's what I've experienced. When my cousin lost her husband and we all went, I was there. Okay, her husband's dead body was in the compound and her hair was being shaved in there. I was outside hearing the groaning and cry of that woman. Okay, so it's against her belief, it's against her faith, but she just had to do it. Why? Because she don't want to face, you know, the wrath of the ADAEZE, the wrath of the older widows in the community or in the village. So these are challenges that widows face. That's why I said widowhood is a very difficult journey. Another thing they have to, another challenges that widows encounter is losing their properties to people that did not even labor for it. People that don't even know how those properties came about. I remember in my own case, I know that some of those properties, I didn't lose them to, you know, some of those properties were lost as a result of debt, but a majority was lost to people that did not even labor for it. I don't need to start, you know, mentioning names because it's now in my past, and God has replaced like 80% of those things that I have lost even before I came into my new marriage. So what am I trying to say? They will begin to lose their lands. You see them losing their lands because they don't have, especially when the widow does not have a child or maybe a male child. That is the worst. My grandma, as old as she is, at 80 plus, lost almost all her husband's land just because she had 2 daughters, no son. And nothing was done about it. The entire community, the entire village backed up that, oh, a woman that did not have a son has no rights, especially in Igbo land. I mean, these are things that we need to start looking into it, okay? That's why I tell you that widows go through a lot. We are still on the topic, challenges widows face during their widowhood journey. So I talked about them losing their lands, losing properties, and sometimes the widow will be separated from her children. That's the most painful part, you guys. That is the most painful part. You will see the children taken away from the woman to people that cannot even take care of them. She will watch her children suffer in her very eyes, even when she can give them a better life, all in the name of there is no peace, we don't trust you with our brother's children. And not like they can take care of that child, not like they can take care of those children better than the woman will do, but they will still, just to subject her to wickedness, take away those children. So, and you see that is why about 2 or 3 out of 10 widows live in extreme poverty. When I say poverty, I mean poverty that they won't see food to feed their children. Their children don't go to school. So many of them, so many of these children moving on the streets hawking. When you do your investigations, right, you find out that they are coming from either the home of a widow or the home of a husband and a wife that their hand is not strong. Okay, those children, they don't just want to be on the streets there. I'm telling you, because we have so many of them. Imagine that the case of that young girl that had a baby that was hawking sachet water that caught my attention, and I followed up with her case until she put to bed. Thank God for the foundation support that she's getting every month. So imagine when I traced and I discovered that her father is late. It's just she, her other 6 siblings, and her mom. Such a woman, she is now frustrated, and she's putting the frustration on the children. I'm coming to that. Is another topic we are going to talk about on the channel here. Another thing that they face is losing their husband's property, husband's inheritance, family inheritance. Let's assume that when they are selling family land, they will sell the family land. Instead of giving the widow a higher share, knowing that she's got higher responsibility as a widow that does not have a husband, they will give her less because she's a widow. Just that name, widowhood, disqualified her from getting equal rights with other women that are married. Even in the public, they don't talk as others. Even in this August meeting of a thing, you see them staying on their own. You know why? Because their husbands are not there. Okay? They just package themselves one side, and you see them limiting what they do. There is a kind of dressing that she will want to dress, and she'll be like, no, I don't want to dress the one that will attract people's attention to me. It happened to me. To the point that when I got a gift of human hair from one lady, from one woman that loved my family so much in Lagos, that was years, far back 2016, far back 2017. When I got that gift, I did not put on that wig, that weave on. I was like, hey, what if people see me now putting on human hair? If you see beautiful hair, putting on human hair, and I'm a widow, how would they see it? How would they see? They will say I'm beginning to sleep around with men just to get money. These are things that will be coming into their head. They will limit themselves. It limits them. Widowhood limits a woman. Okay, just because she is a widow. Okay, am I to talk about the political aspect of it? You see a widow contesting for a particular post and she'll be disqualified just because she's a widow. She's not married. She'll be disqualified because she's a widow. And in some cases, they even evict the widow out of her husband's house. Yes, they chase her out of her husband's house just so they can, you know, take all the properties, just so they can acquire all the husband's property. Especially if the widow is a weak kind of woman, they will do everything possible to chase her out of her husband's house. These are still challenges that widows face on a daily basis. Let's take a look again at that insecurity. You see a widow losing her body, giving her body forcefully being taken by another man in the name that she's my brother's wife. Okay, some widows end up marrying their husband's brother because they don't have a choice, not because they want to. They don't have a choice. I remember the case of Stella when someone asked, must she go into that second marriage? I looked at those comments and I see, you know, sometimes when people don't wear a shoe, they don't know where it pains. Before you judge anybody, put yourself in their shoes. Step into the shoes. Imagine yourself being in their condition. That is the only time you can now judge. Or before you judge somebody, God forbid, have a taste of what they are going through before you know, come out to judge. That lady was subjected to wickedness. That lady did not have a choice. If not, she wouldn't have accepted that second marriage. She was left with nothing. She was left with nothing at all. That was why she accepted that marriage. So sometimes you see widows remarrying again, you know, she will still remain in the family, having children, and not like those children will be taken care of. I will keep saying this because we have so many of them, that so many of them don't come out to speak. You know, every other person will not be like Sandra that shared her story. So many of them don't come out to speak does not mean that we don't have millions of them out there. I know what I'm saying because I run a foundation and I concentrate so much on widows, and I get series of heartbreaking messages from young widows on daily basis, and people, you know, draw my attention to a lot of widows conditions every single time. And some of them, I look at their condition and I'll be like, Sandra, I cannot venture into this because of the capital, because I don't have the capital to finance it. So you just help the little you can and you move on. That is it. Widows go through a lot, so much that your mind cannot carry. Okay, you see them being slept with, people take advantage of their bodies just because they want to help them, just because they have promised them to take care of the children, let them remain in the family. They give them fake promises, and if you're not smart enough and you fall for those fake promises, that's it. You will see yourself being used, being messed up with. Okay, and it's still a sin against God. You see yourself sinning against God, because the only thing that can separate you with your husband is death, and once that death separates you, you are free to leave. That is what the Bible said. And sometimes you still see them being given fake promises that will make them remain remain stagnant for life. So these are also challenges that widows face. Once again, I'm pleading that if you see any widow around you struggling with life, please do not block your ears. They are actually going through a lot. Let's talk about the emotional effect it has on widows. You know, mentally, so many of them go crazy. So many of them will get depressed. So many will stick to alcoholism and drinking. So many will start smoking. So many will go into prostitution. So many will go into so many things because they don't have a choice. Do not judge them. Don't judge them. I remember when I shared a story how I begged on social media to be able to feed my children. It was not a joke. I wasn't joking. I couldn't stand seeing Sammy, as little as he was, a year 3 months, going through hunger every single time. I think I will one day share some of the old pictures with you guys. I had to beg, I had to cry out for help, okay? Until a certain lady came to me and was like, Sandra, don't stop begging and get busy. Stop begging and get busy. And that was my story till today. Okay, she shared her own story with me because she was a single mother. She shared her own story with me, and from there I drew strength and I started doing my thing. And that is exactly what brought me to this level. From day one of my journey, I never lived a life of pity. I can ask you for something, if you don't have, that's it. But it will not make me to start living so that you pity me, so that you show me mercy, because I know that the only person that can show you mercy and it remains permanent is God. When people show you mercy, when people give you today, give you tomorrow, the next thing they will criticize you. The next thing they will announce it to the whole world that they have been the one feeding you. And so many of these challenges makes so many widows to lose their self-esteem as a woman. It makes them, you know, limit their life. Their dignity will be tampered with. They will begin to live a life of, I don't want to do this, so that they will not do this. She will start caring. She'll start living her life under fear of what people will do. Okay, so this and so many more, because they are uncountable, that I didn't even mention here, are challenges that widows face in their journey of widowhood. This is me trying to conclude this video. I wish I can take a longer time to share more on this topic, but time is no longer on my side. As you can see, this video is already getting long. Just so you can enjoy the video, this is me officially ending this video. Thank you so much for watching the video. Don't forget to like, comment, share, of course, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of Talk with Sandra. Bye.